All right, so now we're here for the final part of the Kanye Trilogy Genius. This is Act 3. This is Awakening. What's up, folks, and welcome back to today for another review. And today, folks, we're going to be reviewing the final act, Act 3 of the Kanye Trilogy Genius, which is a three-part trilogy, as you know now. Hopefully you checked out the other two reviews before you landed on this one somehow. But it is Kanye West's new documentary. Now, this documentary started off in March of 2005, where this is right after he won the 3 Grammys for College Dropout. And, you know, this was when late registration was now, you know, on the horizon. But Coodie, who is the director of the documentary, was not filming him day to day. But things rapidly start to get current in this. So for me, I'm just going to give you my honest opinion. The third part did nothing for me. What this documentary did was already expose everything that we've been seeing. It just pretty much took you down nostalgia lane in terms of what you already knew and probably feel about him currently right now. You know, from the moments where, you know, he was diagnosed as being bipolar, when his mother died, and you know, all of that grieving he was dealing with, running for president, the whole MAGA thing with Trump. And then obviously, you know, the different albums that came after that, the getting into the fashion industry with his clothing lines and with the shoes and whatnot, you know, going overseas in order to get the best designers, then bringing it back here on his ranch, you know, and all of the different sort of controversy that surrounded him, or, you know, really infamous headlines that he made, whether with interviews and whatnot. So it did all of what we know. But to my only surprise, which I think was the right call, was that his kids isn't involved in this, and Kim is not at all. They only mentioned Kim one time in terms of them dating when they were started to date, but nothing with Kim at all. So like, although they're very current, because this kind of ends off with Donda, and him, you know, recording, you know, when he did his live recording, and he was staying in the Mercedes-Benz stadium in order to finish. That's where this kind of ends off at. So even for this as well too, this one didn't even leave off in a note that made me feel very like hopeful for another part, like the first two did. And I know this is a trilogy, so there isn't going to be a fourth part. But like, even with this, I was kind of like, okay, cool. And again, it didn't really expose anything I didn't already know, and that's probably because all of this stuff is very current. Now, I will say from Coodie's side of things was much more interesting. This is more of a love letter towards Kanye for Coodie, where we kind of take a step into his shoes to kind of tap into his emotions, as he, you know, he's very grateful, and ultimately thankful for his relationship with Kanye and the opportunity that he was given with him. They've been childhood friends, but we see the two of them separate in this. And at one point, Coodie was recording day to day, and in this part, this third act, this is when we started to see Coodie being denied access, when he was feeling like an outsider, when he wasn't recording all the time, when he was told to stop recording at times, you know. And their interactions from over the years, from times where Coodie wasn't there, then Coodie came, and like, so it was a lot of that. And then, you know, we really get to see more about Coodie and his family. He took a time away. His daughter was born, so we got to see her kind of grow a little bit in this as well too. And this is obviously the time where he was away for Kanye, and this was more than 6 years, it seemed to be. But like I said, he felt like he was an outsider, because as Kanye got more famous, they got more separated. And that's a story you hear all the time. So that was also something that wasn't surprising to me as well too. But it was really just kind of alarming going back down, you know, memory lane in terms of the different episodes that Kanye had. Yeah, as we know, he's been diagnosed as manic bipolar. And the other thing with that too is, I think, and this has always been my perception, but I hope upon watching this, people do start to understand that how big of an impact of him losing his mother really put into his life, not just his career, his life. Because for the first two parts, we see really that Donda wasn't just the mother, but, you know, obviously she became a manager, but she was his best friend. But ultimately, she was his safe spot, and that's where he always was able to go to no matter what it was. And she was so positive, so uplifting, and was truly his best friend. So if you take that away from somebody that is continually to get more and more popular, more and more famous, arguably the biggest artist in the world, and then he doesn't have his best friend, his outlet, his comfort and safe zone, then he decides to vocalize that in every direction he can. And that's where some of these irate statements come from, and you know, that's where he has the psychotic breakdowns and so on. So, you know, you sympathize with him because the grieving process was never easy for him, and it did take him a while to kind of get to a spot, but that's where he found religion. And that's what we all know is when, you know, he shifted his career to making his work and his purpose about serving God. And that's where on the music side, Sunday service came about, and just everything about his posture has changed, you know. So, you know, again, these are all things, if you're a Kanye fan, you know, from the Henny days to the Bible days to, you know, late registration all the way to Donda. This one didn't even really focus on the music at all. This one kind of more or less focused on his mental health and how we kind of see that kind of get to one point to the next. And then again, I said this is more or less for Coodie, who was really just it was like his open love letter to Kanye, just saying that that's my brother, I miss him, and it's good when we're together, and when we're not, I care about him, and I want to be there with him. So, you know, a true best friend / brother. Like that's what I got from this. And this is more or less for me, Coodie making sure that he put himself on the map here. And let it be known that beyond with Kanye, Coodie got a ton of more work. Even, you know, outside of, you know, taking time away from being with his daughter, he got a ton of more work, which ultimately kept leading him to run into Kanye. And that's the game where he started to develop the idea that, like, he's still on the outside. He didn't be able to be up close to intimate and personal with Kanye like he used to be. He was kind of just like another one of the members of the press at times. And that's where you know, that's kind of where we kind of see the challenges for Coodie. But like I said, beyond that, Coodie had always had full access, was always allowed to record. But then he was told to cut it off a few times. And that was kind of like and now we got a ton of rant, a ton of dialogue. Matter of fact, this part had almost no narration. It was just all the video footage just rolling and listening to that, taking that in terms of the content instead of the narration bringing context over everything. So that's kind of what this was about here. But like I said, you know, this kind of left me like, okay, cool. I knew about most of this, whatever. The other two definitely really grew my appreciation for him again. But this one just more or less just like sombered me down again. Like, yeah. So Kanye, the artist, I appreciate. But, you know, the challenges that he go through within his personal life, I absolutely sympathize with him. And I understand. But also, I'm not giving him an excuse for some of the things and actions that he's done. But I do see from now, watching this entire trilogy, that, you know, it has never been an easy road for this guy, and he had a lot on his plate, you know. And, you know, with him calling himself a genius, and then eventually folks coming around to call him a genius. I mean, you know, it's a tough journey for those standards, you know. But hey, check it out. Check out all 3 parts, Genius, a Kanye Trilogy on Netflix. You got Act 1 Vision, Act 2 Purpose, and Act 3 Awakening. Jump in the comments, folks. Let me know when you're done. How did you all take it all in? Tell me all about it. Give me all your thoughts, feedback, and so on in the comments below. And I'll see you around for more reviews very soon. Big gold bell.